It's the Marc Clarke Morning Show. Healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Is that delicious beverage?
Duh.
Preparing students to demonstrate mastery of math state standards can feel like a dull, unending cycle of equations and practice problems. Unengaged, frustrated students can weigh on teacher confidence and lead to uncertainty about overall achievement. Two Ivy League-trained engineers observed this struggle and created a way to transform how students learn the fundamentals of math. Through the innovative Accoletics math program, EDA has helped more than 400,000 students achieve success on state-administered math tests and transformed the academic strategies and performance of schools nationwide. Accoletics' uniquely designed supplemental materials and tools are well aligned to your state standards and provide a clear path to exceed state proficiency standards. Through ongoing professional development, you will uncover common challenges and activate solutions that promise to improve student achievement in your school. By partnering with EDA and choosing Accoletics, you can start to see an unprecedented return on your investment in as little as one school year. Don't procrastinate on giving your teachers the tools to help students achieve their highest math potential. To learn how you can dramatically improve classroom instruction and learning, test scores, and student confidence, call, email, or visit Accoletics online today.
Coach Roz, and I'm here with my Healing Shot Plus immunity booster, and it's just as simple as taking one shot a day, just one shot, 1 ounce a day for your immune system. That's it.
It's barely morning, and somehow Marc Clarke has to wake up. Of course, Marc has a little help.
I just want to float. We can stay forever.
What conduct? What conduct? Wakanda. Wakanda, Wakanda, Wakanda. Wakanda, Wakanda, Wakanda. Wakanda, Wakanda, Wakanda.
Level up, 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 level up.
On the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. Riding bike on Hilton Head Island. I can't wait to get on the road again. Bam! Mom's in front. Bam! Skylar's second. Spencer's third. And last but not least, the first, Sid Rock. Heading to the beach. And welcome to the show. What's up, family? How's it going? Sir Bootsy, you got the old school Redskin
Commandos.
command.
I'm sorry, Commanders. Ooh.
Yeah, that Commanders is probably not the best. Not the best. All right, Lynn, tremendous Tuesday. I see you, Lynn. Miss Pat, good morning. Jarrell, good morning. Be great today. So, Bootsy, thank you for pointing out I did not send you a link. Boy, you know, it's interesting. I was preparing for the show, and I did not even send the guest the link. Thank you, Bootsy, for reminding me.
I thought I was fired for a minute. I'm like,
Harold is, I know Harold Bell is like, Mark, what the Harold Bell is going on? I just sent him a link. So today we're doing, Harold is, first of all, Harold is a legend in the DC.
A real legend.
A real legend. He has all of these images from he was there. It's like Forrest Gump, Harold with P.D. Green, Harold with, whoever, Muhammad Ali, Harold with, and so we're going to, Black History Month is winding up, and we're going to get into, celebrating Black History Month, really a lot of the images that Harold's going to share with us, and then tell us, the real history, the real story behind the picture, which, again, I'm telling you, if you have any elders in your family, because we have phones and because we can record history at the cookout, at Big Mama house, sit down and just start asking the family history, because when they're gone, it's so frustrating because it's hard to remember. And we don't have our, griots around. Like Dave Chappelle said, his mom said one of the saying is that when a griot passes away, it's like the library is burned down, right? And that's so true. Like your family history, man, a lot of those secrets, a lot of everything is gone when they're gone.
Mark, I just dealt with that 3 weeks ago.
See? And the thing is, as we talk about, what's going on, Deidre? Good morning. We talk about Black history. There is an assault going on, man. There's an assault going on history because the powers that be don't want America to deal with its history. And people, it's so funny because people, I don't think people really understand. A lot of people don't understand what the moves that are happening, right? People will be like, what are you saying? Really, they don't want you to know. No, they don't. The funny part is, go ahead, Bootsy, I see you.
No, and that is how the new governor of Virginia won with that critical race theory thing.
Oh, yeah.
He basically won on that same premise that you're saying of changing the history or telling the part of the story that they only deem acceptable for them and their ego. So,
and the part that I think what people don't really understand, it's the, at the end of the day, the big picture, right? The big picture is, and this is my opinion, the opinions of Marc Clarke are those of Marc Clarke and not those of Marc Clarke Media Incorporated and all of its subsidiaries. This is my take at 55 years old. So people would say, well, why would anybody care about history, not African-American history? Well, my opinion is that the powers that be have used white supremacy to control the people forever. That's why the critical race theory argument the people who are fighting against it are really pawns. They're getting played and they don't even know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these parents, I've seen black people, blah, blah, blah. First of all, critical race theory is not really taught at the high school level, first of all. So first of all, they haven't even, and people are so lazy, they don't really examine the causes that they're fighting for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Critical race theory is usually talked about in college, a college campus, when you're talking about the effects of race on the people.
Right.
And so it's not really taught at the high school level. Now, what they're coming after is history. And what their interpretation is, I don't want my kids to feel bad because of the racist history of America. First of all, it's history, okay?
And you can't change it. It's already done. It's been done. It's not
and not really documented because they purposely delete, do not address what really is going on, or what really has gone on in America, right? And it's not about feeling bad about anything. It's really just talking about the truth, and people do not want to deal with the truth. So
I made a tweet at the beginning of Black History Month. I said, "Hey, Virginia, now that your governor just won on the critical race theory, does that mean y'all can't celebrate Black History this month?" I'm asking for an educator, because that's what I wanted to know. Like, wow. So if he just won, can y'all really celebrate Black History, since that is probably a very critical, a portion of it? That was funny, in-depth jokes that nobody got.
And sadly, at the end of the day, they use race to divide us. When I say they divide us, I'm talking about the regular people, the people who, if they had their smarts about them, would fight for their rights, would fight for their causes. But we're so inundated with false information and so lazy as far as looking up real information, that we get caught up in these stupid arguments that aren't even real, that are manufactured,
Absolutely. They're pointless.
And also we don't have context. It's like when Black people say, "Oh, Black History Month, why is it just February? Every day's Black History Month." And yes. Carter G. Woodson created Black Negro History Week to acknowledge contributions that African Americans have made to America, because it wasn't taught, it wasn't acknowledged, it still isn't. And so the conversation started with him because he wanted to bring attention to it. And so we are not there yet from a standpoint of people knowing the contributions that African Americans have made, because it was systematically taken out of education. It's systematically taken away. And so now when you get to critical race theory, what is it, 2022? And we're at critical race, this weird critical race theory thing, where once again they're trying to strip away the information. And the funny part is it's never even got there yet. There's so much and people say, well, it doesn't, it's the future, it doesn't matter. It matters because it helps you understand the context of who you are and the importance of African Americans in America. And so now
and just to add on this, just about just learning stuff and how the history has changed, there's been a 4-part documentary series on CNN this week about LBJ. It was mind-blowing on his what he done for race relations in America, and how the story was changed and not known. So just in general, every year I realized that I learned stuff that was either hitting for me or not so correctly. Like, the other thing was that LBJ was a real supporter of civil rights. And his last speech that he ever gave, the last words he says is, he want America to be as one, and one day we shall overcome. And it was like blowing away. It was the last night. And was the last night of them showing it. It was a 4-part series. And it was very interesting because he was talking about how him and Robert Kennedy Jr. did not get along together, because when he was telling JFK to do civil rights early, Robert Kennedy was like, no. And then he made that. And so it was very interesting documentary.
Yes. And also you got to remember you always got to you got to remember who's telling the story too, though. You know what I mean? Because you know, he was, you know what he was? He was an amazing politician.
Right.
So that's what he was. You know, was he, you know, Texas racist? Yes. But he was a brilliant politician, and he saw the changing of the times.
He sure did.
So it's like, you know, you have to take everything with a grain of salt and understand where it's coming from. That's what I try to talk to my kids about, but it's hard to understand it because it's such a big it's so much to undertake. But at the end of the day, to me, you just have to always look at who's telling the story, where it's coming from, and that again is the beauty of the elders in our communities. They have these stories, and people try to erase the history and erase the truths, and you know, and so it's important, if you can, record that information, if you can. You know, I thought about, you know, today, Bootsy, I was taking Spencer to school, and one of the you know, the guy that had Nancy Pelosi's podium on January 6th, and he was talking about, I broke the internet and whatever, and they're gonna, you know, they want to give him 90 days in federal prison. I was just thinking about, can you imagine, let's say it was a black organization that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Can you imagine? And here's the part that's so crazy, Bootsy. The part that really hurts my heart is that as a black person, if they would have killed whatever black organization did it, they would have killed them. They would have gunned them down. They would have been a bloody, everything that didn't happen would have happened if it was a black group of people.
Yeah.
And the part that's so sad, that really speaks to how conditioned we are, is that we would all say they should have known better. As human beings, we would have not been surprised. We would have been sympathetic. We wouldn't have been sympathetic at one iota.
We wouldn't.
We would have been like, they deserved it.
What were they thinking? How could you be so stupid?
Right? We are programmed.
Absolutely.
We're programmed to understand that we are invaluable in the system. This person these people who pooped in offices and put poop on the wall and did what they did and got months. Some of them, whatever. It's like, you know, they have sympathetic groups supporting them with millions of dollars, and even in the news when they do the story, there's no judgment, really.
Right.
You know, there's no judge, and that's the conditioning that we have here.
Absolutely. The most amazing thing when I looked at it was when I saw that guy and the two lawyers. They literally flew in from Colorado. So just think about this. I'm going to buy a ticket from Colorado, go there, think I'm going to bash the Capitol, take low pay, and then get back on the plane and go home. Like they actually had that in their mind. Like, think about that. What type of thinking privilege that takes? I'm going to catch a plane, go to the Capitol, mess it all up, storm it, me and everybody I like, because we mad Trump didn't win. And I'm going to get back on the plane and go home, and nothing's going to happen like it was a normal day. That let me know the thinking of the whole dynamic. Like, how could you even think that? So that was like amazing to me. That that man paid for a ticket and flew in to do this.
Yes.
And thought he was going to go home. It was going to be over.
Yes. So, you know, and so, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And again, today, because as we're wrapping up Black History, Harold Bell, who is basically the father of sports talk radio, is going to be joining us. So I'm going to play this package. I'm going to make sure Harold's okay. I'm going to play this package that I had a chance to do, and one of my favorite things. And again, Bootsy, you were so supportive when I was on Channel 9. One of the things that I was so proud of is I got a chance to get some of these stories out that probably would not have had the chance to get the spotlight. And this is one of my favorite packages.
You say probably.
And so this is Harold Bell and his interview with Muhammad Ali, which again is historic because it was the first interview given to any reporter. And Muhammad Ali, credit to him, he promised Harold this interview when he won in Zaire, and he gave it to him. This was the package that ran, and hopefully we'll be back with Harold when we come back.
And Harold Bell has been called by some the godfather of sports talk, and at 83, he's still going strong. He's one of the first to combine sports with politics. Now, this weekend marks the 47th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle, the historic fight between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, a man who definitely merged sports with politics. Today, Mr. Bell will be sharing with us exclusive footage from an interview he had with Ali, the first interview Ali granted after his historic win. This is a Great Day Washington exclusive. Check it out. So, Mr. Bell, tell us, how did you meet Muhammad Ali?
1967 on the Howard University campus is how I met Muhammad Ali. Didn't see him again for 5 years, man. And then my talk show started in 1972, and I had a buddy that was a sports writer for the Washington Star newspaper named J.D. Bethea. And he and Harry Barnett, all of a sudden they asked me, said, Harold, come on and ride up to Cleveland with us, man. We walk into the hotel, and there's Muhammad Ali holding, another thing like Howard University. Got all these reporters around him, man, and everything. And Harry Barnett and J.D. Bethea and myself walk through the hotel door lobby, and he looks over and sees me. He ain't seen me in 5 years. He said, Harold Bell, what you think this far away from home? I almost fell out. I said, what? 5 years, man. So that, I was the chosen one right there, man. You understand? And we became friends from then on, man.
I saw a story where you could actually have gone to Zaire with him with the fight. Is that a true story?
So he said, Harold Bell, what you want to do, man? I said, champ, I told you I want to do a TV special, man. I want to do an interview one-on-one with it. He said, okay, that ain't no problem. We can do that in Zaire. I said, in Zaire? He said, yeah, I'm going to Zaire to fight that chump, George Foreman. I said, yeah. He said, well, we'll do it there. I said, man, I ain't going no Zaire. He said, what? What are you talking about? Why? I said, champ, I'm scared to fly across the ocean. Oh boy, he broke up, called me chicken stock, cluck, 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 cluck. I said, I ain't going no Zaire, man. I'll wait. So we went to dinner that evening. We get ready to fly out of there and go back to DC, man, Rodney and I. And he comes up and grabs me and whispers in my ear. He said, since you're scared to fly to Zaire, when I get back after I knock out this chump, you'll be the first one to interview me. I mean, he always talking crazy. I ain't paid no attention. I said, okay, champ. I got on the plane, man, and came on back to DC and went to watch the fight on closed circuit TV at Constitution Hall. 5 nights later, I'm lying home in the bed, man. It's raining like hell outside, man. So I'm over by the phone rings, man. So Hattie hunts me, get the phone. I pick up the phone, and the person said, let me speak to Harold Bell. I said, man, who is this? I'm still asleep, man. I said, who is this? He said, let me speak to Harold Bell. I said, man, who is this? And when I said that, he said, fool, this is the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali. I said, straight up in the bed, I said, oh my God, man. So he said, you still want to do that interview? I said, yeah, man, I want to do the interview. He said, I'm in New York. I just got back. And come on, I'll bring your camera crew. They picked me up at midnight with the cameras in the back of the car. And we went to New York to do the interview, man. The rest of it is history, man.
Wow. And so Mr. Bell, so this would be the first time in 45 years, this is an exclusive. This is your footage with that interview with Ali talking about what makes a fighter. Is this the first time this has been seen in 45 years on network television?
He talks about the difference between a boxer and a fighter. And this is the only 2 minutes we talked about sports. The rest of it was about the game called life. Yeah, we need to check that out.
It's like you said, it's hit, not be hit, rhythm and timing, footwork, a left jab, right cross, might slip a punch about 2 inches, then tag it. He might throw a left jab and you might pull back just enough to get away. You might stop from a half inch and hit it and back over with the right hand. It's all time and rhythm. Everything's in motion. So, but fighting is more like a Joe Frazier. Just put your head down and come in, take punches just to hit, nose hanging off, ears twisted, eyes crossed, just don't care. But a boxer's one, like Sugar Ray Robinson was in his day, or Joe Louis, myself, people, how I dance and jump around. Even I'm laying on ropes, I'm not getting hit, I'm blocking them. That's called the rope-a-dope, the new style of the Mirage. It's a science. So that's how they differ.
It really was an honor to talk with Harold Bell. You know, broadcasters look like me. We stand on the shoulders of great men like him. And he actually received the Pioneer Award from the National Association of Black Journalists and continues to stay busy with his daily show, married to his lovely wife, Hattie, for over 53 years. And again, this weekend marks the 47th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle.
That energy never gets old, bro.
Man, I tell you, it's amazing. And, you know, Harold will be joining us in typical Marc Clarke fashion. Bootsy, sadly, you know me well. I was supposed to call Harold last night, and I didn't. I fell asleep. And then this morning, my phone was off. So anyway.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme with you now. I can tell that the man of Marc Clarke has got so heavy, you turn your phone off. If I ever get locked up, I won't call you.
Yeah, sadly, I know. But so Harold's going to join us. And, man, we have coming up, we have so many historic pictures, man. Harold has laced us with so many. And the best part is he was there. You know what I mean? It's not a theory. He's a part of it. And so he's going to break down these pictures.
And, and the great thing about him is he can put context to every picture that he shows, which is always a picture is worth 1,000 words, but they say a story is worth 1,000,000. So it's always great to have somebody like him who was in the moment, experienced the moment, and can really break it down as well.
It's interesting again, man. I'm at a point as we talk about Black history and we talk about, you know, America, the race, and all the things that are happening. And it is it's so heartbreaking what's going on as far as, you know, there've always been political footballs. I get it. You know, I get it now. Like, you know, we have issues come up and you realize that, you remember when people used to say, oh, so everything's so politicized and blah, 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 blah. And the part, it is. I mean, it is that way because that is the part of the system. That's the part of the game, you know? And so it's amazing how it does keeps us off balance, you know, because basically every cause has a lobbyist group that pours millions of dollars into the message.
Absolutely.
And so people are always, and Bootsy, you're in education. So you're in a cause, you're in a field, you're in a space where you make great things happen in the community. You create opportunities for kids in the community. And at the end of the day, that is a great cause. And it also, you know, you change the communities, right?
Right.
But you're also in a political space to a degree, and people use your organization as a political football. I'm sure, you know, when you're asleep at night. And that's like everything. And so that's why, as a media platform, I really do hope that we can have real, truthful conversations and add that contextualize the conversations, because that's what's always missing. What's always missing. When you talk about, so again, back to Black history, since we are going to talk to Harold. When you talk about history in America, especially when it comes to the African American or the African in America, there was a reason why there always have been the messaging has always been messed up. You know, it's almost like when you go back to remember when people were taking down the statues, right? When people are taking down the statues, you know, when people are changing the names of the highways away from the Confederate images. What people don't ever talk about is, so they'll, you know, let's say we're taking down the statue, changing the name. And what people don't, so what happens is people think that this movement of Black folks are the cause to take down the Confederate, you know, is number one, driven by us and our concerns. And number two, what they don't tell you in those news stories is, so logically, that statue, it didn't spring up right after the Civil War.
Right.
That's what your mind and logic would say that to you, that, oh, this was put up after the Civil War for whatever reason.
It's crazy that you're even saying this, because when the one that was done in Charlottesville, I was doing the morning show in Charlottesville when that whole situation went down. And unbeknownst to me, I did not know it didn't come up to 1961. I didn't know the statue. Like I thought it had been there for a while too. But just the fact that everybody felt the need to, they were so passionate about it. You know, it was like, but I didn't realize like, hey, 1961, y'all put this up.
Yes.
So that was the thing, and let me tell you, that was the most passionate. I had been in Charlottesville for 6 months. There were a lot of things they were trying to get done there. That whole Robert E. Lee statue in Charlottesville ignited something in the whole state of Virginia.
And again, this is because people don't tell you that. Well, why in the 60s? Like you said, Bootsy, well, why would you erect Confederate statues in the 60s? Well, because the civil rights movement was happening. And a group of people who did not have a voice was getting a voice. And so therefore, that's when, and in fact, it always happens, usually in our country, when the feeling that Black folks, whoever, is making a move. Then you have this, it's like the pendulum swings back and the powers that be use race to divide us.
Right.
Because again, it's almost like, just imagine after and people don't even think logically, after the Civil War, at the end of the day, the Confederacy was breaking away from, they were terrorists. Okay. At the end of the day, they were terrorists.
And it was not going to be celebrated about them.
Exactly. So it wasn't going to be no statues put up right then. They were basically trying to get themselves back into the country.
Right.
And so it's like, but again, we don't talk about this. It's never talked about. It's never dealt with. So we just have all these emotions.
Now you want to hear something interesting about that Robert Lee statue? It was one in Richmond, Charlottesville, like every major location in Virginia, like major city, every downtown location had a Robert E. Lee statue. That go to show you that they were thinking even back then, which was it like of all the things you could have been putting up in the 60s, why in the state of Virginia, in these major landmarks, you felt the need for Robert E. Lee? And that was like, but as also contents, and also going to show you that how deep it goes, how far back, or what they were thinking back then.
Well, and also it tells you how people use the people to get them, just like critical race theory. Critical race theory is not an issue in schools.
Right.
They made it an issue because the powers that be saw how people respond to it. They see how people respond to it, and they play on the fear, and they play on what it's really, it basically causes confusion, it causes upset, it causes people to reignite their racial fears, and people use it to their advantage. And that's why in Virginia, with that being played like that, the lieutenant governor, who's of, I guess, Jamaican descent, that's why her being played as a pawn is so heartbreaking, because she either knows it or doesn't know it. You're being used for this, you know. And
you know what else it is, Omar? But and this is what I think it is now. I think that is a Republican playbook strategy now. That is their new.
It's always has been.
Yeah, it is a dog whistle now. That's their new sophisticated dog whistle to let you know, yeah, I'm with you. Because as you say before, it's not really a issue. It's not really a thing anyway.
No.
It's almost like, it's like language. It's like a dog whistle to say, hey, let me let you know, because that man won on that. They like, if you would have saw the level of passionate voters in Virginia, that was their sticking point. And like, man, of all the things in Virginia you guys could be doing, could be said about, why this one? It is a dog whistle, but that, he won. And as you can see, after he won, other Republicans are now using that critical race theory strategy as well. I don't know where I just saw that, but somebody else, some other state in America just
it's a whole movement.
Yeah, it's a movement.
It's the whole movement for white folks who are scared that people of color are taking over. And again, it's funded by the lobbyists, just like this whole mask situation.
Oh my
This
God.
mask situation,
My freedom.
it's not an issue. It's ridiculous. So you're telling Canadian truckers are coming. How stupid. It's such a stupid thing that's not real that they're making real because it's fueled by passion. It's fueled by passion. It's fueled by fear. And that's the thing that's the thing that Trump was so masterful at, making an issue out of no issue. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, he's the only legend I really know. I actually know a real legend.
Absolutely.
Harold Bell is in the building. Brother Bell, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend? Oh, man. Harold, you might have to hop off and hop back on again. It's doing that thing again where it speeds up. So hop off and hop back on again.
That's probably because he got so many things to say and trying to get it all out. Yeah, I got it. Right. Yeah.
Log off and log back on again. And so again, here we have coming up, we have these amazing images that we're going to share. Harold's going to share with us, and like you say, give us the story behind them. I'm so excited about it. And that's the thing, man. It's like, at the end of the day, we have to measure ourselves too. Do we allow ourselves to get sucked into the machine? Because all these causes, most of the time, it's behind and within it all there's a little bit of truth. See, that's the thing. That's the game they're doing now that is brilliant. They put a little bit of truth in something and then they add all the lies stuff to it. So then you have to, those of us who are at a certain age, we're more skilled at it than, well, some of us are, than some of the young people. We already know that, yeah, that's what it's saying, but what is it really about? Yeah, what is this thing really about? And then it's like nowadays with the young people, everybody wants to tell you what to think. That's a big play too. And that's why, again, I'm not on the individual beef, because I think most people either don't know that they're getting played, they're ignorant. It's like it's like you said, the Trump in the red states. Most of the red states are the poorest states in America. They got terrible health care. They got terrible everything. And they got the nerve to be concerned about a damn mask. I think we have Harold.
Yeah.
Yes, Harold Bell is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. And so, Harold, again, I apologize, brother. I dropped the ball this morning. Harold laced me up with some beautiful images that we're going to talk about. We got the man. I was saying, Harold, that I told everybody to pull their phone out and not only record you, but if they have people in their family who were there to get the story, because if you rely on the news or history to tell us a story, it's going to be half the story. So, Harold, I'm just going to run through the images and you just kind of tell us the images, because it is, wrapping up Black History Month. We briefly talked about how Carter G. Woodson started the Black Negro Week to really just acknowledge the contributions that African Americans have made, because it was not being acknowledged and it's not acknowledged. And here we are, Harold, it's 2022. You were there in the civil rights movement. Now it's 2022 and they're trying to get rid of the critical race theory. What they're really trying to do is get rid of the contributions and talking about what Black folks have done. And they're trying to get rid of all the bad stuff that they did in that. So, Harold, first image up, Freedom Now. You told me off air about your beautiful wife Hattie and her historic background. So this obviously is a protester here.
That's her father. That's Hattie's father, Dr. Charles Thomas, who was president of the local NAACP in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Hattie's family is the first family of civil rights in Orangeburg, and that's her father on the picket line. Dr. Thomas was also a professor of psychology at South Carolina State.
Wow.
Dr. Thomas put together the first voter registration on a college campus at South Carolina State, which spread it to all campuses all over the country. Yeah, Hattie and her siblings, man, they were known around Orangeburg as the first family, and they were arrested. He had to go to get them out of jail along with other students. Dr. Thomas was a dynamic. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. I sent you that faded photo of Dr. King had his house with her father and several other people as they were planning a protest that next day, that night. And Dr. Martin Luther King was at the protest. He was in the crowd, but he did not participate. Went up on the stage or anything, but he was there. Oh yeah, there it is right there. That's the Dr. Martin Luther King right down in the left corner. That's a Christmas card that he sent the family, and that's Hattie's father on the far right with two other people at Hattie's home. Yeah, they went through. Oh, there's Dr. King in the crowd that night, right there, standing there in the crowd, man. Yeah. Yeah, so they did it, man, for real. And that, of course, is on South Carolina State. That was the South Carolina State massacre on the college campus, where they killed about 6 students, man. That was 1968. And had his brother-in-law, Harold Riley, was one of the students that was shot that night on campus, man. So, yeah, they've been through the real deal, man. So,
wow. And so here we're going to hop around because, there's so many great images. You can just tell us as we hop around. Okay. And again, Harold, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you so much for joining us.
That's Dr. Thomas and his wife, Elise, right there. They're the third, fourth person from the front marching downtown. And, they were for real, man, and they don't get a lot of credit. Some other folks are trying to take the credit for what went down in Orangeburg. We got Clyburn, who was nothing but a student back there then, but they were the real leaders right there. What you saw just taking place in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
And Harold, we were talking. Bootsy was saying, they're running that the special on LBJ, and I was saying that interesting. He was an interesting figure. I think they kind of gave him some shine, but also I was telling we were talking about Lucy and I were talking about how the way they tell the story, sometimes it's like you got to take it. It's 50-50. So as an 80-something-year-old who was alive during those times, what was your take on Johnson?
Well, I think that Johnson stepped out there, man. I think he was for real. They give the Kennedy boys a lot of credit. When you come to a guy really stepping out with civil rights, LBJ stepped out there. I mean, he was from, as he was from the South, man, and he was one of those rednecks when he started out, but he changed, and that was it. He changed, man, and I think he did a hell of a lot for the civil rights movement, more than any other president, man. You look at the guys like our first black president, they called him. What's the guy?
Clinton.
Clinton, that's right. They had Clinton as our first black president. We were so desperate for somebody black be in the White House, we had to adopt Clinton as our first black president. Right. And he really didn't do anything but set us back. And the Kennedy boys were on the way to doing something. They had to be pushed, to really get out there, man, to help black folks. But LBJ was the guy when it comes to civil rights. Even though my man, folks read the history right on Richard Nixon, man, he did a hell of a lot for civil rights. But he was a redneck too. He was my man. But hey, he stepped out there and was able to do a lot of things. I was able to do a lot of things. I didn't make no big decisions when I was with the Nixon White House, but I got an opportunity to help folks in my community, man, to thrive. And that's what it was all about, man. We still got this. Oh, yeah, there's Hattie. That's Hattie's father getting them out of jail. That's Hattie's sister in front. That's Reggie, her brother. And that's Hattie in the dark glasses. And that's Dr. Thomas arriving to get them out of jail. I call them the jailbirds. And of course, that's my first Christmas toy party in 1968. After the riots, that was December 1968. I had my first Christmas toy party for needy children. And that's my teammate, George Kelly, playing Santa Claus. George was a linebacker. I played for a minor league football team called the Virginia Sailors. And that was our first Christmas toy party in 1968. Did 45 straight years. And of course, there's Richard Nixon, as I was saying, and that's Attorney General William Rogers and Hattie and myself at the White House. He invited
Harold,
me.
I always ask you this question. I know it gets on your damn nerves, but Harold, did you get backlash for being, so being, I guess, a Nixon supporter? Because I guess in the Black community, did you get backlash, and how did you handle it?
No, it wasn't no backlash. I mean, they might have been talking behind my back. I didn't get any backlash. I just say, man, when the president invites you to the White House, I was just telling a guy the other day, this guy, AJ, he's been invited to the White House to be honored for some things he's doing in the community. And of course, Biden is, got the lowest, he's lowest as he's ever been since he's been in the White House at this time. I say, man, you got to go to the White House if the president invites you to the White House. So when he invited me to the White House after about 10 years, I had not seen him, and I was able to get a presidential appointment out of that, and I took it, and I ran with it, man. I did what I could in the community. I became the first Black to head a domestic action program in the federal government, and that was a program where I was assigned to different military bases around the area, and I was able to take people from the community onto the base. I started the first halfway house ever on a military installation at Bowling Air Force Base, man. And we brought juveniles onto the base because the DC facilities were overcrowded. So I got with Judge Luke Moore and several other judges, Judge Harold Green, the Redskins, and we opened up a halfway house on Bowling Air Force Base. That was the first time that had ever been done, man, that they brought people from the outside to live on the base.
We're talking real Black history with the real Black historian who lived it. Harold Bell joins us, and we're just going through the beautiful images. This is all from Harold's library, and so, okay,
that right there. That is the first NFL national promo on television right there. That's at my Hillcrest Children's Center Saturday program. Kids in Trouble, and that's Larry Brown and Harold McClinton with the CBS the technical guys with the NFL, that they came in to do a promo on swimming, and I had just rescued a kid from the bottom of the pool about 6 months before, and I ran to Children's Hospital, which was about a block away, and saved his life. And so Larry and Harold McClinton were a part of the Kids in Trouble team at that time. So the NFL came in and said they wanted to do a promo on swimming, and of course that's them standing by the pool, and that was the first national promo by the NFL, man. That right there went on national television, and of course where they went. That's NFL Films. That's who that was that came in with CBS.
Harold, did we just lose? Did we just lose Larry Brown? Was that we just lost?
That was Charlie Taylor.
Now Charlie Taylor, we just lost Charlie Taylor, my man, Charlie. In fact, last time I saw Charlie's, and man, look, we talk about wide receivers. Man, this guy was fantastic, man. He could do it all. Catch the ball, block, run. Yep. And Charlie, I guess he spent almost 10 to 12 years with the Redskins as the wide receiver coach. Sure Charlie was with me when I did a fundraiser for the great Willie Wood, who was from Washington, D.C., played for the Green Bay Packers. Charlie was at the fundraiser with Paul Horning, John Mackey, Willie Davis. That was 2007, man.
Harold, what did they say about the great Vince Lombardi? What was the players' take on him? I know Willie Wood was one of his superstar players.
Yeah, well, I tell you, man, the players, they loved and hated him. that was the bottom line. Willie Wood loved him because Vince Lombardi said Willie Wood was his coach on the field. And Willie went on to have a great career with Vince Lombardi. He played in the league for about 10 years and it was all pro about 8 years, ran punts back. And he had a lot of success with Vince Lombardi because Vince was honest. That was the thing. And that's my man there. That was the great Red Auerbach. That's his wife Dottie. They came to the studio to co-host Inside Sports with me. And of course, you know, Red and the Boston Celtics get a lot of flack for being racist. But Red Auerbach was the man out front, man, that really carried the NBA on his back. He and Walter Brown, who was the owner. I mean, Red was the first one to play 5 black players at one time. The first one to hire a head black coach in Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Bill went on to be a general manager. The great Sam Jones. We just lost Sam.
Yes, we did.
Sam Jones, man, of course, around here in Washington, D.C., wherever I was holding my Christmas toy parties, celebrity tennis tournaments, Red was there, Sam was there. I got those great photos, man, of them participating. And that guy there and Muhammad Ali gave me a lot of credibility. Of course, here is the great Jim Brown and Congressman Lou Stokes, one of my favorite people, put me in the congressional record. When I first met him, he read a story on me in the Washington Star. And I just happened to be having dinner at the Hilton Hotel on Connecticut Avenue one night. They were having closed circuit boxing, and Lou was there as the guest of a friend of mine. And we were at the table together. Lou was a great human being. Jim Brown had 2 faces. You know, you don't never know which face you were going to see, but the greatest running back to ever play the game, and bar none. I mean,
Harold, what's your take on how do we process these men and women, these human beings who, like you said, they're not perfect. So we know Jim Brown, I mean, on the football field, you know, Bill Cosby as comedian, you know, all these guys, these people that we know them for their talents, but they may not be the best human beings. What do you say, Harold? How do we put them? How do we deal with them? Can you listen to R. Kelly's music? Can you listen to Bill Cosby's comedy? Can you praise Jim Brown knowing that he was an abuser? Well, how do you put it in perspective as somebody who's lived a long life?
Well, you know, my problem is this, man, and I catch a lot of this is what I catch a lot of flack about is that I was up close and personal with these guys. When I talk about these individuals, it's because I saw them up close and personal. I mean, almost nose to nose. And Jim Brown, man, was a guy that did a whole lot, man, but he was an abuser. He was the poster boy for the NFL when it came to domestic violence, man. He was the poster boy. And guess what? They got a statue of him out in front of Cleveland Stadium, man, you know, as a football player. But there was more than just a football player when it came to Jim Brown. Of course, we learned about Bill Cosby and how flawed that he was. And a lot of that stuff, some of us just ignore it. But I can't ignore it, man. When I've been out there with a guy and I watched Jim Brown hustle NFL players to get money for his nonprofit American program. I watched him use presidents. He used presidents. I mean, people talk about me going to the White House. Jim Brown was at the White House with Nixon. You know, Wilt Chamberlain was at the White House with Nixon. You know, and Jim Brown just recently hooked up with Donald Trump.
Sure
why
did.
He hook up with Donald Trump? Donald Trump gave him $50 million for the American program. $50 million, man, he walked away with.
Wow.
So it's difficult, man. You know, and of course, you know, I always stop to think about the people that blazed the path for me. And there's one of them right there, Sam Lacey of the Afro-American newspaper, the sports writer, Wendell Smith, Mal Good. These guys, man, open up the doors for me. So, and then I opened up the doors for James Brown, Michael Wilbon, David Aldrich, Kevin Blackstone, Kathy Hughes. You know, I opened up the door, and it's like my girl Monique says, she took the ass whooping so the people coming behind her wouldn't have to face that same type of racism. Well, that's what I did with James Brown and the Wilbons and the David Aldrich, man, the Kathy Hughes. I took the ass with my wife had to suffer because I was standing up to be a man, man. But these guys forget so easy, man. And that's what Monique was saying. How can we forget, man? And people mad at Monique because she's a troublemaker because she call people out. You got to call them out, man. You can't say they're black and we should let them just walk on us or do whatever they want.
So Harold, what do you think? What do you think? Why do you think the people? Again, you're not asking necessarily for a job, but it's really just support. It's just whatever. Why do you think people run away after a certain degree of success? What do you think happens?
Well, it's nothing but the plantation mentality, man. That's all. It's the plantation mentality, man. And we talk about critical race theory like it's just white folks. Black folks got critical race theory in our community, man. They suppress our history. Yeah. You watch these television shows, WETA, all these programs, and they do the history of Washington, D.C. You never see Harold Bell. They act like I wasn't even there, man. Wow. They act like I don't even, and I understand it, man, because they don't want people to know the truth. They just did a recent video on the Fox Trap. And, they talk about all the great celebrities that came out back in the 70s and 80s, man. How did those celebrities, how did they get there? They didn't get there by themselves. They came there through Harold Bell's celebrity fashion shows, Sugar Ray Leonard, Earl Monroe, Roy Jefferson, man, Dr. J. You understand? I had all the judges from the D.C. Superior Court coming to the Fox Trap. Police chiefs, the media personalities. Donnie Simpson, them ain't know nobody. They came there to participate. They were standing in line for my celebrity fashion shows every year, begging to be in my face. James Brown, he was there. He was working with Xerox. You know nothing about no sportscasting, man.
And so then of course people will say, "Oh, Harold is old and he's bitter."
Yeah, right.
And so Harold, is that the system? Is that how how kind of they play? Like you said, that's just kind of how it's played, huh?
Well, you know what, man? There's a guy out of Princeton. What is his name? Claude. He does a great piece on This Is Us, man. This is America, man. This racism that we see is America. Here I'm 83 years old, man. And I thought when I went to Winston-Salem in 1960, man, and watched those kids, those young men over in Greensboro, go down to the 5 and 10 Woolworth store and sit at the counter in 1960. And that came up to Winston-Salem. And I end up being one of the people who would go downtown and be a part of that boycott. Here we are, man. 2022, and we fight these same battles, man, because we're putting people in leadership positions that don't care about anything but themselves, man. And that's what it's all about, man. So I look at the sacrifices, man, that my wife and her family went through. I had a great uncle by the name of William James, the first black attorney in Sumter, South Carolina. That's my mother's home. That's where she came from, Sumter, South Carolina. And he was a stand-up guy, man. He stood up against the Ku Klux Klan. Well, my mother and Uncle Billy were living in the same house, man, with her brothers and sisters. And the Klan came, man, and burned the house down. My mother and her brother and other siblings, had to run out there with nothing but clothes on their back and come to Washington, D.C. My grandmother and grandfather on that side, they were killed by the Ku Klux Klan. My mother didn't tell me that until, I got older, or why her parents died so early. All I knew was that her parents died early and they had to come north. The Ku Klux Klan killed them, man. So, what that's saying? So that's why I stand up. That's why my brother Earl, who went into the military, become a staff sergeant, MP, the heavyweight boxing champion over in Germany, why he stood up, man, and fought. We were in jet back to back in 1969. They were talking about Earl's fight over in Nuremberg and how he was standing up over there, and me going to the White House to be with Nixon. They were trying to compare me being the Uncle Tom and my brother over there fighting over in Nuremberg. It's something how the media manipulates things.
Wow.
That was you just saw there, the Washingtonian of the year. there's the back-to-back jet in 1969. That's my brother Earl in Nuremberg, Germany, with his family, and that's me and my wife at the White House. And they were trying to make a comparison. Sergeant leads the explosive downtown march that they did over there because they were letting white guys go into the discotheque, but wouldn't let the brothers go into the discotheque. Instead of the white guys, standing up with my brother and them, they left them out there. So my brother said, hey, enough is enough. And he led about 50 brothers downtown, and they had to call in the MP. He was the MP himself. They called in the MPs on him, man. So,
wow.
Man, it's a plantation mentality, just to answer everything, man.
Well, and it's so interesting. I just love the fact, Harold, that you don't shy away from, you know what I'm saying? Like, you sent me that to show it to. I just love the fact that, and I think that's one thing that you don't see a lot of nowadays either. When people are confronted with stuff, they never just come out with the truth. Because like you say, the truth pretty much stops the it stops the conversation because it answers the question. Right. And you just see so many people running from the truth. Something comes out and they try to spin it and they apologize and they blah, blah, blah. As opposed to just saying, like you said, when Kanye West and Jim Brown came out from the Trump scenario, the part that was Steve Harvey, the part that was so crazy was all they had to do was answer some damn questions. Why are you here? Right? Steve Harvey would have said, I just opened up a plant and so and so and so and so. I was trying to get the president to so and so. Like you say, Jim Brown, I was trying to get some money from my organization. Everybody came out looking crazy, and then Kanye said something, but everybody thought Kanye was crazy.
Jim Brown was at the White House hiding. He was trying to hide back in the corner, man. And Trump called him out. Say, you see Jim Brown? I got Jim Brown over there.
He was like, hey, this is part of the game. This is part of the deal, buddy. You need to step up. And so who's this handsome guy, number 54? Looks like a small 54. Forward.
That's at Winston-Salem State. I played for the great Big House Games, one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time. And one time he was leading the nation in wins at a black college, man. He was leading the nation, man. And this is where the great Cleo Hill came out of Winston-Salem. I was a great friend of Cleo Hill. He was the #1 draft pick of the St. Louis Hawks, and they ran him out of the league. He had a no-cut contract, man, and he became a starter the first year. And the white boys didn't like it, man. They didn't like it, and they went to the coach. The coach said, "I got the plan." He's leading the team in scoring and rebounding. And Cleo wasn't about 6'1", 6'2", man. Jump over the basket. And do you know the next year Cleo was gone, man, out of the league. Of course, Earl Monroe came out of Winston-Salem also. The great Earl Monroe. That's another story I got to tell. And that's me playing minor league football. I left college early, man, trying to chase my NFL dreams. And I played minor league football a couple of years, got cut, and had to come home and get a job. We won the minor league championship. I think we were in Alabama at Ladd Stadium for the championship game there. And, of course, there's the great Wendell Smith of the Pittsburgh Courier with the great Jackie Robinson, who was one of my heroes, man. I'm not scared to say Jackie was my hero, along with Paul Robeson, man. These guys stood up. Mel Good, was the first black journalist or media personality for NBC. People don't talk about these folks, man. These people are the ones that open the doors for us, man. And there's my brother, who I love. He's gone today. He was a military MP, and he was a cop on the D.C. Police Department for 14 years, where he had to face the thin blue line and the code of silence. Ended up dying early because he had an accident. And that's a picture of him on the punching bag. He was the heavyweight champion, man. He was knocking folks out, man. And he was the best athlete in the family as far as I'm concerned. Everybody talk about how great an athlete I was. Earl could play everything. Everything. Yeah.
And so, Harold, again, like you said, it's 2022. It feels like, racially we're in probably, I don't know, a space that we even haven't been before. But we were talking, earlier in the show, though, in my opinion, it's by design, though. It's by design. They stoke. It seems like when there's a gain, when there's a movement towards unity, it seems like there's always a backlash where they try to tear that apart because, again, if people focused on reality, they may want to make demands. And like you said, they may want to vote out some of these old politicians. They may want to make changes and, you know, and make their lives better. So Harold, as we wrap it up, what's the future look like? I'm sorry, Bootsy, you have a question.
Yes.
Going in here, Bootsy.
I just want to say it is a privilege to meet you. I'm a born and raised DC native. I've done journalism all over my life. You're literally one of my real heroes. I teach a broadcast journalism program in the DC Department of Recreation. I've sent 31 kids to college. We would love to do a documentary on you this summer. I don't know if Mark can make if you available.
Yep, it's done. We're doing it. I told we go right in with the book. Let's get it popping.
We need to do a story. My journalism class need to deal and talk to you and nobody else moving forward. You are the perfect person to do this local DC historical documentary on. Maybe we can talk later, but I just want to say it's a privilege to meet you. Your story is amazing. And before I jump off, if you have any Department of Recreation material, hold it for me, please.
Hey, Bootsy, I'm a former roving leader. I was one of the pioneer roving leaders that worked down the street.
Guess who my mentor is? Londell Taylor.
Wow.
That's my man. Rest in peace. He was my little league coach, my high school coach. I did my high school internship with him. Oh my God. Okay, you already know.
Well, Harold is family, so that's done. That's done,
yeah.
Man. And so
I want to say this, man. One development that just came out. Nobody's really looked at it, but I thought it was great, man. What Tom, the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, what's
Tomlinson,
Mike Tomlinson. They hired Brian Flores. They brought him in on staff.
What?
Let me tell you what that's all about. I believe Tomlin talked to the Pittsburgh Steelers family, who's always been out in front with the ruling rule and everything, and they brought him in because I think Tomlin is getting ready to retire, and and Brian Flores is gonna be the head coach, man.
Wow,
they will be the head coach, so they brought him in. He's on staff right now, and I think that's the plans, man. That's how somebody got to break this stuff up, man. And I think Tomlin is in a position to do that with the family.
Well, here's the thing this was my take. And remember, Bootsy, I don't know if you remember, Bootsy, I told you I felt like Flores was going to get hired because, in my opinion, it's the classic distraction from a standpoint of these owners ain't giving up that. They ain't selling to no black people. They don't, because number one, they will when they have to. But because we're not unified,
that's right.
They never will have enough pressure on them to have to. So by hiring Flores, you take the heat off, you back the heat back down a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And now we're back to businesses. But like you said, Harold, the Steelers that family has always been a cool family as far as that thing goes. You know, as far as I think they genuinely are good people. But you know, again, would you let anybody, if the three of us own the damn league, will we let people come in to our money-making venture? Probably not.
Well, one thing we got to remember, Mark, is this, man, is that they want to keep us out. One thing, white folks are not giving up any power or money. They're not giving up power or money, man. You will have to take it. They got a woman as an owner, and I don't know if she's Asian or what. They got another guy that is not an American as owners. So they show you that they don't want no blacks in there, man. Yeah. And we got black folks with that kind of money that can own a team. So that shows you exactly where they're coming from, man. It's white privilege, and they're not giving it up.
And the funny part is, Harold, the black players they're the only ones that can make the change.
They're the only ones.
But they're not going to do it. So
all they got to do is sit out one Sunday. One Sunday. Say, right. We are not playing. And look here, one of the white owners said, man, that when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, he said they had them by the throat, man. But what they did, they divide and conquer. They gave the Players Association millions of dollars to put back into the community, and they got to scrambling about the money and divided the whole league again. That's how they do. They put the money out there, man.
Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. One said, well, you didn't call me and tell me about the meeting. I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the money. There they go again.
And the funny part about that I always thought was hilarious was Kaepernick, you know, they focused on Kaepernick, but your man, the beast mode never, he said he sat down. Marshawn Lynch sat down when he played in the league during the national anthem. He said he never did do that whole process. He would sit on the bench and sit down, and nobody said nothing. So it's very interesting how, you know, again, back to the pick and choose of what causes are important and what's not important. But Harold, man, we love you. We value you, brother. We value you. And Harold, the good news, hey man, I reached out to some NFT situations, and I got with one of the people that we really excited about. She's supposed to call us this week, find out about NFTs and all these amazing images you have. So excited about that.
I want to bring other thing to your attention. My cousin is Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. I found out that he was my cousin a couple of years ago. Mark, you were at the Miracle Theater when my great aunt, who turned 100 years old, pulled my coattail and told me that Donovan Mitchell was my cousin on my mother's side, which I didn't know a lot of those folks on that side, but I did the history, and Donovan Mitchell is my cousin, man, and he's standing up. He's standing up like my Uncle Billy did, who was on that side of the family.
Wow.
The critical race theory, Donovan is standing up against all of it, man. One of the great young men, man. Amen. Amen. Keep him in prayer, man. Keep him in prayer.
And when it speaks to, like you said, Harold, to start this, that legacy of greatness and that fighting spirit that so many people have forgot. A lot of people forgot it, right? But there's still some people out there, and so people like him, the young folks like him, can make a huge change, and I think they will. So Harold, thank you for being here. Of course, this is your place, and so, you know, we'll be doing this. This ain't the only one. We'll be doing this from time to time. Tell the Truth Tuesday with the real truth teller, Harold Bell. Harold, how can people reach you if they're trying to touch base with you? Because I know, tell them about your show on Sunday. Your show's on Sunday, but also how can they reach you?
Well, my show on Sunday is Speak the Truth every Sunday from 3 to 4, and having a great time doing that. Also, I can be reached at hkbell82@comcast.net at my email, hkbell82@comcast.net. So thanks so much for having me. Bootsy, great meeting you. Looking forward to working with you, man.
Oh man, we need you. We need you like yesterday, OG. Yes, sir.
And Bootsy, what about Harold in his 80s with all this technology? He ain't tripping, boy. Harold is still going strong. Him and Hattie going strong, baby.
Man, he's probably more tech savvy than we are.
Age ain't nothing but a number. All right, y'all have a great one. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk about you know what? Should have Harold on talking about the CIAA, which is in Baltimore.
Oh my gracious!
You need him back on here for that one.
We'll be talking about that.
Yeah, coming to Baltimore, man.
Coming to Baltimore. We
Big
talking
house
about.
Look, Big House Gaines came out of Morgan State University, and he is the godfather of the CIAA. He's not even here anymore, but he's the godfather of the CIAA. That's his home, Baltimore.
Wow, definitely. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thanks everybody watching currently and watching in the future. We appreciate you. Have a great one. We'll see you.